We'll start with this, obviously, in the induction. How did you learn about getting inducted come this October? What was your reaction? I guess walk me through, when you first found out.
Sure. I knew nothing about being nominated. I knew nothing about the process, and I knew nothing about the fact that it was coming up. I just, do my thing at the radio station, and I got a call a couple of weeks ago from the New York State Association of Broadcasters president, David Donovan, and he said to me, I like this job for many reasons, and this is one of them. You're going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, New York State Broadcasters Hall of Fame. And it was the first time I think in my life I was speechless because he even said, "Are you still there?" So I was like, okay, and then my head was reeling like, wow, this is crazy. I mean, Dan Rather's in this, Don Imus is in this, Barbara Walters, all those people, and then many people from Syracuse, Rochester, Albany, and so on. And you don't usually have a lot of small market people, which hopefully will change because there's a lot of small market people that are doing great things for a long time.
Yeah, and getting into this industry, obviously, the end goal isn't necessarily to be a Hall of Famer to get into a Hall of Fame, but in your mind, does that kind of like help kind of support what you've done for so long and think, okay, at least I know that I'm kind of getting rewarded almost for it.
Absolutely. I'm not the type that, waves my flag and says, look what I did. But after 37 years, and you don't even realize, all of a sudden, 37 years later, I'm still here. I chose to stay in the small market because I liked the closeness to the communities we serve, and it's the Tri-County community, Shenango, Delaware, and Otsego. And I like being involved, knowing lots of people, a great place to raise my kids. And so I chose to stay here and build on this radio station. I can't thank enough my partners, Dave Mance and Jack Clancy. They took a chance on a 23-year-old back in 1986, I believe. Yeah, so it's the small market I happen to really enjoy, and the closeness with listeners as well as people in the towns, business people, political people. It's just it's been a really enjoyable career.
For sure, and you mentioned it a little bit, but getting here in 1986, being here for 37 years, when you got here as a 23-year-old, did you expect to be here for, I guess, ideally, the rest of your career?
Not at all. I was going to be the next Don Imus in my mind. I'm from Nyack, which is 20 miles outside of New York City. So I had listened to New York City radio for a long time, and guys like Imus, Jim Kerr, Tony Pigg, Carol Miller, these are all people who I highly respect, but I listened to as a teenager. And I decided I wanted to do that, hearing them, and I thought that would be a great job to have, and so on. And I, never believed I could, get to this level. I'm very proud of what we accomplished here along the way. And I found out when people heard about me getting this, I found out the real impact that the station, not just me, but the staff here, has had on the communities we serve. So many comments that talked about, reminded me of some of the things we've done in the past that were beneficial to the communities, like our flood coverage. We're very much known for the two major floods that happened. And it was a really rough time. I mean, when we had no power here at the radio station, so we had to broadcast from a mountainside outside of the transmitter building up on a mountain, which for about 2 days. And then there was power across the street. The fire department was able to run a line from across the street into our studio, and we were able to then be here. But it was a crazy time, and we still were basically 24/7. I mean, the greatest staff, no one asked, hey, can I have a day off? Or it was just, when do you need me tomorrow? And I really can't say enough about that group of people.
Yeah. I was going to ask about that. Doing stories like that, working on coverage like that, at the time, it's what you have to do, right? Like, it's absolutely what you have to do. But in hindsight, looking back on it, you can kind of take a breath and be like, oh, wow, that was kind of incredible what we did. Do you find yourself doing that ever?
I usually just move ahead, but when it's brought to my attention, and I don't know if you saw when you came in, we have a whole wall of thank yous and letters to the editor and all that about that coverage. And no, I mean, now I look back and go, yeah, that was pretty incredible what we were able to pull off, not just in the amount of coverage we provided, but again, the first 2 days from a mountaintop out of the back of an SUV. It was a crazy. There's a picture out there with it, and it's just to be able to do that and to do the kind of coverage we did. We were running down, interviewing firemen, mayors, various other, and also on the cell phones, interviewing people and all. But we'd have a tape recorder, we'd interview them, and then we'd have to put the mic on the tape recorder to play it back because we had no other way to disseminate the information. And the thing that I think I'm most known for probably is they had asked me, so many people wanted to get back into their homes and they didn't realize that the water was as high as it was. So the police were having a hard time trying to keep them from going into the homes that were closer to the river. And they asked me if I could go on the emergency fire department rescue boat to take a little tour on the water around there, and I described into that tape recorder what I was seeing, and it wasn't a reporter anymore. It became a local resident of this community that is. I mean, it really was. A few times I almost broke down because the water was so high, and that was we played that back, and it was about 12 or 15 minutes describing street by street that I was going. I mean, I could touch the tops of road signs from the boat. That's how high the water was. Cars completely underwater, and it was something that was probably one of the most interesting things I've done in the business.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the last thing I'll ask for you is things like that. Obviously, you mentioned it kind of earlier. Smaller markets, representing smaller markets. You obviously never want to have an awful accident, awful floods like that. But being there for the small markets, being there when no one else maybe is, caring about maybe smaller markets, how important is that for you, and how nice is it to know that, hey, we were here for them?
I always say to the staff and to people, live and local. Radio stations, in my opinion, no matter what size, need to be live and local for reasons like that, as well as just entertainment and all of that. I'm not a fan of satellite fed, and yes, it saves money on payroll and all that, but if you're live and local, you can provide what a community needs, and then you can also benefit from the fact that they'll keep coming back to you. Maybe they don't like the music you play, but you have the birthday club on, or you have, we're giving away tickets for water safari in Old Forge, or recently we had 6-packs to the Speedy Fest in Binghamton, which was a pair of tickets for all 3 concerts. Things like that. You can't do that if you're not live and local. And so people keep coming back to you even if you're just a button on their radio. It's like, okay, we do news 12 times daily, local news. So, maybe they listen to the news and then they switch off, or they like our music, or oh wow, they're giving tickets away to Elton John at the Carrier Dome, that kind of thing. So I think live and local keeps you different than, let's just say, the satellite options. You want to be something different than that. Otherwise, why not listen to satellite radio, to your favorite music? But if you can provide information as well as, even again, entertainment, live and local is the way to go. And a lot of small market stations do that, back to your question. And I think it's extremely important to set yourself apart from the other ones by doing that and being there for, the public. One of the biggest compliments I or the staff has ever received was after that first flood. I think it was a week later or 2 weeks later in the Tri-Town News, the entire letters to the editor page. It was an entire page dedicated to what people wrote about CDO and our coverage and how we helped them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, was there anything else we didn't touch on that you wanted to maybe add? Anything you wanted to talk about?
The other part of the business, I mean, the other cool part of this business is you get opportunities to meet, let's say, musicians, high-ranking political people, comedians, and so on. And I've met so many people. It's been a real thrill to meet people like, I'm a big fan.
Oh, did I mess that up?
Oh, you're all set. You're good. It's not loud or anything.
Yeah, this
How's
is
it going?
the last question. Good.
Good. If you need me for anything,
Yep.
I'm done now. So.
Okay. But I'll just start again.
Yeah.
The great thing about this business is you get other opportunities to meet some really cool people, entertainers, political people, and so on. And a few of my highlights are, Ray Romano. I met and talked with former President Bill Clinton. I met, the Rusted Root, Bare Naked Ladies, Loverboy, all these bands that Chris Rock, Jim Brewer, the comedian. I mean, just so many. The band Yes, I'm a huge Yes fan, and I got a chance to. So that's also a lot of fun to be able to do that. And the funny story is I actually, when I met Bill Clinton, I was up in 1,000 Islands, and he was, this is a funny story, so I'll just tell you, but he was campaigning for Hillary. She was running for Senate. And whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or whatever, my thing was, wow, I'm going to meet a sitting president. Mm-hmm. And so he was up there, and he was coming around the line, meeting people, and he was nice and great, but everybody was talking all the political stuff. We wish you could run again, and, kiss the baby stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was the day after the first game of the Mets-Yankees World Series. And I said, he came around to me and I shook his hand. I said, "Pleasure to meet you, Mr. President. Let's go Mets." And he stopped, and it was like he could be a regular person for a minute. And he said, "Did you see that game last night?" I go, "I sure did." The game went 13 innings. It went to like 1 a.m. And I said to him, "You didn't stay up for that whole game, did you?" He said, "I sure did. I love a good baseball game." And he was just, I think people were looking like, who the heck's this guy? And he just, it was just fun to talk to him about that. And I said, "I presume you're not going to tell me which team you want to win?" And he said, "No, I'll keep that to myself," and, whatever. And I got a picture with him, and it was just really cool to just chat anything but politics with him, and that was a highlight for me.
For sure. All right, thank you so much,
Craig.
Craig.
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
You, man.